Hello and welcome to the What If I Fail podcast with me, your host, Alex. And today we have Mel joining us. And fun fact about Mel named this podcast. She is the one that came up with the What If I Fail name. You've heard that story a million times. I've told it in episodes before. But here she is live and in person, the namer of the podcast.
Wow, I'm gonna get a plaque.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself as other than the naming abilities that you have? What else do you do?
I do have some great naming
Yeah.
abilities. People message me far and wide and ask me what they should name their programs. But I do other things.
Mhm.
So my real interest is this work with the intersection of psychology and psychotherapeutic techniques and energy work. And really understanding who we are as a human, why we're here, what we're doing, what motivates us, what drives us, and how we can live a life that we just love and that keeps us growing and helps fulfill the thing we're here to do in the world.
The purpose, the dharma, there's a million words for it, isn't there? But
Yeah. And it's who we are and how we serve. And I think when we can get really clear on that, like everything else just seems to make more sense.
yeah, absolutely. And when I was planning season 2, where this is the penultimate episode of season 2, when I was mapping it out and looking at the people I wanted to bring in and talk to, you were just an instant like, well, that's obvious. Like I had like a little post-it note in my diary for about 6 weeks going, invite Mel into the podcast, invite Mel into the podcast. And then I was like, no, this fits perfectly as the penultimate episode, because this season has been all around the cost of success, the self-trust, self-leadership, feeling the fear and making that decision to say, I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to do it anyway, but not in a, well, all my friends are jumping off a cliff, so I will too, but in a, this is my time and it's scary, but I have to take that step. And obviously the reason it was so perfect for you, and the only reason I was like, oh, does it line up okay, was because of, I wasn't sure when you were launching. So I was like, oh, will it be public? Because obviously I know some secrets from behind the scenes in your business because of our friendship. And so I was like, she's about to make this massive leap. I wonder if it'll have been taken by the time I'm recording. And so we can share it with the world. And obviously you have now shared it with the world, and not just, boy, have you shared it, like it is exploding somewhat. And that is the birth of Akashic Reiki, a brand new Reiki modality, just incredible legacy moment. For anyone that doesn't know, that's listening to this, that either doesn't know what Reiki is, hasn't heard yet of Akashic Reiki because they've been living in a cave and haven't heard of you, like, do you want to explain what happened? Give us the story.
The story of Akashic Reiki and how it was born. I think I want to start from what you just said about this, like even the bit before that. So about a year ago, a bit more than a year ago, I was really contemplating about what drives me. And I had this realization that fear isn't bad. It was this like metanoia moment of fear. Maybe if I move in the direction of my fear, that is also moving in the direction of my growth. And it was this huge like, oh. And I started to get really curious about things that I was afraid of, things that were triggering me, things that were kind of feeling really alive with me. And I spent this, actually 2 years ago, I spent this thing of like, how do I follow my life force? Now, around that time, I had, I've been in the spiritual space for a long time. I work with a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, and I was seeing a lot of things that were rubbing me up the wrong way, right? There were things where people were like, oh, I'm not valued enough, and they were hiding behind healing modalities, and they were really uncomfortable sitting in their power. And I was like, this needs to change. This really needs to change. And it was actually that moment and that declaration. I was on a retreat in Bulgaria at the time, and I was really fired up about this. And it was that night I went to sleep, and I got woken up at 3 a.m. And I've had this thing. I'm going to go on the balcony. There was a beautiful mountain range in front of me, and it was like a clear night, just stars, nothing else, no moon. And I sat there and I had this, you might call it a download, you might call it a
Hmm.
channel, you might call it a mystical moment, like whatever you call it, I had an experience. It felt to me like the heavens opened, and I received this, what I now know to be an attunement. It was a journey. It came to me as a, quite visually and somatically. And I was like, whoa, what was that? Something changed. I went into my room, I grabbed my laptop, I typed out, like as my fingers were on fire, I typed out so quickly what had happened, the journey that I'd been taken on. Woke up the next morning and I was like, okay, there's something in this. Now, it wasn't random. It wasn't like, oh, I was just, living my life and this happened. There was a season of events that happened before that. I've been working with the Akashic Records since 2016. That's when I was first introduced to them. The Akashic Records are your soul's library, this field of information that knows you so well, that holds everything that you have ever done, seen, been, had, known, desire, and it holds it in this space of unconditional love, non-judgment, just in a space of this, what happened. And I've been teaching the Akashic Records for a long time, and I kept bumping up to the same thing. People weren't confident in their psychic abilities. Like, how do I trust? So we're working with past lives, we're working with karma, we're working with this understanding of who we are as a soul, and some of it's quite like conceptual. You're like, I don't know how to do it. But when we're in the records, we don't even need to really speak, and the energy, the frequency of this unconditional love, this non-judgment and evolution and growth just is there. And I got curious through my psychotherapeutic techniques. I'm a spiritual psychotherapist, particularly my Reiki work, and energy healing and life force energy, about how we channel that energy without getting lost in the story. We get lost in the story, we're creating new records, and I don't think that's the point. And so I feel like I was at this perfect point in my life where I'd studied for 2 decades nearly on energetic work, on the law of attraction, on the mind body connection, on the soul connection, NLP, like all of these things that were really helpful. And I've done like 8 different types of Reiki training. And it was that fateful day in Bulgaria where I was triggered and I was activated that
Hmm.
it landed and came through. And then it was up to me to do what I will with it.
Incredible. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know whether I notice things more since talking to you. Like since I would say it was when we were in Santorini that we really became closer. But when I read your book, right, Mel has
Yeah.
a book and it's incredible. And she asked me to be one of the pre-readers before it was released. And at the time, I think we'd been kind of bumping along
Mm.
near each other, adjacent, but not
We were
super
adjacent. That
close.
was my word. I was going to say we were
We were
adjacent.
adjacent,
We were
yeah.
like,
And then I read your book and I couldn't put it down. I nearly missed my stop on the train. I was like going to the airport and I would have like missed it because I was so
wow,
in reading, and I was just like I couldn't stop reading. And I think I got on the plane and I read it in one go. I was like,
wow.
I need to absorb this. This is amazing. I think about your book way more than anyone else ever because it comes up for me all the time of like, oh, I remember that time when I read Mel's book.
Wow.
But it's interesting that since getting to know you, since reading that, since knowing your journey, I notice like mentions of things like way more regularly. So even like the other day I was reading a fiction book about 2 people in 2 different centuries, and it was all based around Greek mythology. But there just happened to be one side character that talked about theosophy and the Akashic records. And immediately my brain was like, oh, there it is. Hello. What's going on there? Oh, what are we talking about? It's the Akashic. Oh, right. Yeah, I know what that is. That's really interesting. And I think I probably would have glossed over it and been like, all right, some sort of cool, whatever. But I really was like, it caught my attention, such a small element. Like it was maybe a page of this
Wow.
book. And yet it stood out to me because I think our friendship and just like learning from you, just like seeing the way that you teach and what you do, just it brings it all to the top, which is incredible. So obviously you've had this intersection of like, okay, actually the parts of my life's work are joining together. You know, the energy work that you've always done, the psychological work that you've always done, the Akashic work that you've always done, and now kind of merging and turning into this new modality. Reiki is something I think even outside of the spiritual world, I think most people have heard the word Reiki. Whether they think it's, oh, that woo thing where you put the hands over and it's just bullshit, or they know what it is properly.
Yeah.
Most people have heard the word Reiki because it's a bit of an institution at this point. It's been around for a very long time.
There's actually millions. There have now been millions of people who have been attuned to Reiki since its, you know, what do you call it, rediscovery, like 100 years ago. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. And how did you feel bringing, and there are, you know, I can't remember who it was I spoke to, a Reiki teacher that I spoke to long ago, we referred to it as the many flavors of Reiki. Because you've got angelic Reiki, you've got holy fire Reiki, you've got S2E Reiki, like there's lots of different types of Reiki out there already. How did it feel going, I've got another one?
Well, like, here's the thing, right? Reiki for me was my start of my journey, right? Well, 2008, Reiki found me. I had a profound experience. It healed a lot physically, mentally, emotionally, and it awakened me spiritually. And so I became fascinated with Reiki. Like, if you know anything about me, when I get I just want to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And so I went down the rabbit hole and I learned all of these different flavors of Reiki. I'm an angelic practitioner. I've done crystal Reiki and holy fire and world peace and Karuna, and S2E was my start, which is like the original, and more, say Chem. Like I've done them all, right? Why have I done them all? Because I'm fascinated, and I'm a very sensitive, energetic person now anyway. And I got really curious about the differences and the different flavors. And it's like, you can have ice cream, and ice cream's ice cream, but you know, you can have dark chocolate and milk chocolate, and even though they're both chocolate ice cream, they taste very different. And that was similar. They kind of do the same thing, but they come at it from a different way. And honest to God, I've never had a thing like, I need to create a new thing of Reiki. Like it never occurred to me. But it was like 2017, so just after I'd experienced the Akashic records, Holy Fire turned up, and I had a massive resistance to it. I was like, why do I need this form of Reiki? Like, and it was, you know, they were talking about things that didn't really resonate with me at the time, and it seemed, you know, very Christ-like and all this stuff, and I was like, I'm not sure that's my thing. And again, this resistance, and something got curious in me because it kept on coming up, and I was like, well, maybe the resistance is telling me something. And I did it, and it changed so much for me doing the Holy Fire. And that was brought through by a guy, William Lee Rand, right? Who people have big opinions about him, big opinions. People love him or hate him. You know, he's an interesting character. And I witnessed all of that. And people would say to me, oh, but Holy Fire, it's just whatever. And it's like, yeah, but S2E Reiki was also brought through by a guy 100 years ago on top of a mountain. What's the difference? So I was witnessing all of that, but what I was also witnessing was the difference in me
Hmm.
since receiving the attunement and learning the concepts in there, and the hundreds students that I'd passed the holy fire on to, and the change in them. I can't deny that. Whatever you think of the guy that brought it through, look at the change, right? Now, the thing with Reiki is it's so beautiful because it's so simple. Like you said, it's a hands-on healing modality, and yes, we've made it more complicated maybe with all these different iterations of it. But fundamentally, where Reiki means universal life force energy, we're drawing in from this universal space of creation, the same energy that turns an acorn into an oak tree, yeah, the
Hmm.
growth and the evolution. We're drawing in on that, and simply through our intention and our hands, we can channel this energy, right? And it's based on these principles. Just for today, I will not anger, I will not worry, I will not, I will be grateful, I'll be honest, I will be humble, right? So that was all there. And remember, I had this trigger happen.
Yeah.
So when I received this attunement, I knew intuitively it was a form of Reiki. It was very similar to the Holy Fire attunement. The resistance in me to call it that publicly was I didn't. This happened October 23, this
Yeah.
attunement. I told my circle, because I was teaching soul school at the time, I passed it on to them. I was like, it's kind of like an Akashic Reiki in that I'm drawing the energy through. We don't have to do anything with it. I'm drawing the energy directly from the Akashic record so you can channel its frequency. Um, in the back of my mind is William Lee Rand's journey, the target that he became from people who said that wasn't conscious. This was just sitting there. And meanwhile, I'm developing this system that is very robust, right? That has a lot of psychotherapeutic techniques. Basically, what I did is I took all my psychotherapy training, I put it in the Akashic records, and I'm like, what works, what doesn't from this perspective, and pulled out like the best kind of 10 things that align very well with it. And it took me probably 6 months
Okay.
and many conversations when I'd actually kind of started this process of what am I going to call it. And it was going to be called the Akashic Flame.
Okay.
That's what I was going to call it.
Hmm.
But I knew it wasn't right.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't right. And actually, when I really sat with it, it was the resistance to what will people say about me?
Yeah.
Who am I? Yeah. Because
Hmm.
I've always prided myself. You know this, my humility has always been like a top priority, a top value. Who am I? I didn't go and sit on a mountain for 21 days with no food or water and receive a bright white light. I was in a luxury house in Bulgaria, right? In my posh balcony, right? With a MacBook,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Who am I? But the more I sat with it, the more I knew that I would be diluting it if I called it anything else.
Yeah.
And so the words came through, and I thought, this is not gonna make a lot of people happy.
Hmm.
And it will make some people really happy because it explains what it does. And then I went and got the name trademarked before I told anyone about it. And here we are.
Yeah. And so have you had that same level of Marmite reaction that you feared?
Not to, not to the degree I thought,
Hmm.
but it is still early days,
Yeah.
right? It is still in my circle. So I'm
Hmm.
on the second cohort now. And there were some people that I thought would love this who were like, oh, how can you call it that? How can you charge this much? How can
Hmm.
you, like, all of this stuff that I was fearing came up.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of people that got it, got it.
Hmm.
They're like, "Oh, okay, well, this explains what it is and what it does." Um, but yeah, like there has been, and I've heard rumblings, and
Yeah.
my some of my my some people disappeared.
Yeah.
And it's
Some
like,
peer groups dropped
right,
off. Yeah.
they dropped off. I've heard people say, oh, some people don't really like what you're doing. And I'm like, is that right? And like, but you know what?
Yeah.
Like, it's not nice. As somebody who, like, the humility piece, this ancient fear of I don't want to be rejected from
Yeah.
the tribe, is there and prominent, but it it was what, like, that's not my priority anymore. This was the priority. This needed to come out. I could have called it anything, um, but I made a choice.
Yeah. And I think the thing, because one thing that I've always known about you in terms of one of your values, like humility, yes, but also connection, and that deep connection with people around you and wanting to feel part of that community. And so this moment of, I'm going to have to create something that might create a disconnection. Like, I'm going to put that in place, and I'm going to have to accept that
Yeah.
some people might disappear because of it. Like, that is, as a base fear, as something that, we might not realize that we're doing it, but we turn that fear into like really logical reasons as to why now's not the right time, or but I don't want to do damage here, or I don't want to upset the apple cart, kind of a thing. As a kind of like base question to ask yourself, like, that's quite a big one, right?
Yeah.
That's a big hurdle to kind of, a big
Yeah.
cliff to jump off, realistically.
Yeah. But it comes into what's more important. Like, I've been studying all of this stuff for ages. Like, truth is, I probably could have conceptualized this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, with the level of knowledge that I had.
Yeah.
But what I didn't have at that point was the resilience, I think. And what I didn't have was there was this mission. Remember I said I got triggered?
Yeah.
I started to see all of this stuff that was going on in the spiritual space, of being undercharged, of like undercharging things, of not standing in your power, of like weakening yourself, hiding behind stuff. And I'm looking at it going, these are incredible people. And if they held power, what the difference we can make in the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, Melissa, you need to go first. You need to do this. And the priority, which before was comfort, humility, belonging, right? You bought me a bracelet, right, that said you belong.
Yeah.
It's what I needed at the time. And I'm like, okay, well, now I belong in the right places where I don't need to belong where I was 5 years ago. Actually, where I need to belong is where it is that I'm going, where my soul is leading me to, where my mission is drawing me to.
Yeah.
And so I started to make more decisions from this future version of me. I recoded what it meant. Like, so part of my skill set, I can see and feel and manipulate, if you like, what's going on underneath the surface. Like, that's what I do, psychologically, subconsciously, energetically. And so I looked at that, and something really interesting came up. I realized that I had this thing that I need to live a comfortable life.
Yeah.
And up until this point I had, and it's been great, because for whatever reason, comfort was one of these implicit values that I didn't know, but it was sitting under the surface. And so it was driving every single one of my decisions. As this realization about fear, fear isn't telling me no, fear is a clue into I'm moving into something else. Fear is this, I'm about to move into a void, which is creating an expansion. As I realized through my work in the Akashic Records that the purpose of us as humans is to know ourselves and to grow, this evolution piece, we're never meant to stay stagnant. We grow or we die. That came up. And that everything that happens for me is an invitation. So if I'm triggered by something, there's something in me that's going, we've got to look at this.
Yeah.
Right? So all of those began to stack up. And I realized that my growth, my evolution, my soul, my mission was like top priority.
Yeah.
And I started to gain evidence through the time, like even coming to Santorini with you ladies, there was this kind of like, fear, like excitement kind of feeling. I started to realize my soul's never going to lead me wrong. It never did. It led me into discomfort.
Yeah.
It led me into some tricky situations. It led me into difficult conversations, but it never led me wrong. There was always something there. And this thing that came through came from my soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I asked 25,000 times whether this was right, asked the universe, kept pulling cards, driving past. There was one day I drove past, this was the clincher. I drove past a lorry and there was this flame on it and it was like energy in motion or something. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? I was like, all right. And that was the day I started to do the trademark. So I changed this implicit priority
Yeah.
and it wasn't comfortable. And still the comfort came up. It's not like it just disappeared,
Mm-hmm.
but the relationship to it changed.
Yeah.
And I got very good at differentiating the difference between fear as a no
Mm-hmm.
and fear as an invitation,
A signal.
this a signal, and what's more important.
Mm. It's really interesting because my kind of journey with comfort and resilience and adventure, like I've always said, adventure is one of my personal values. Like I love being curious, I love finding new ways of doing things, but I always did so from a place of comfort.
Mhm.
And looking at the various kind of journeys that I've been through, mum's kind of illness, mum's eventual death, and how I've retreated in the past of like, oh, I have to be very careful, I have to protect my energy, I have to, I need to just shut things off at the moment because it's too much and I don't want to burn out and I don't, and all of these very reasonable,
Mhm.
logical reasons coming up for why I should be in that state of like, no, I need to be resilient. In order to be resilient, I need less going on, need to be a
Yeah.
bit more comfortable. And I remember a coach that we worked with being like, well, that's great, but are you in a sanctuary where you're retreating to kind of heal, or are you sitting in a padded cell too afraid to come out? And I was like, it's a padded cell. Like I've
Yeah.
locked myself into a padded cell, and now I'm like looking at the door like I'd really like to go out, but it's very
Yeah.
scary. And
Yeah.
that kind of idea of fear as a signal, it's that kind of, I mean, on many, many levels, but the thing that stands out for me the most is I've always been terrified of roller coasters. There is a link here, I promise. Because my body feels adrenaline and interprets that as terror.
Mhm.
Whereas other people feel that exact same like frisson in the body, the bubbling, the like, and they go, oh my God, I'm so excited. This is amazing. This is
Yeah.
adrenaline. Yeah. And I'm like, no. And it
Yeah.
is just that, okay, it's just a signal. It's just my body telling me something. It's just a change in hormones or a change in energy or a change in something. How we read that signal and how we choose to say, oh, actually, that could be a sign that something is going well instead of something that's going badly. Even to the point of human design, I
Mhm.
remember being taught about bitterness being my not self theme.
Mhm.
And before I'd feel bitterness and I'd retreat and I'm like, girl, I'm going to go and grumble by myself until I can find a way through this. And now I'm like, oh, I'm feeling bitter. I wonder what's going on here then. Okay.
Right.
And we delve in. And
Right.
it's just that interpretation of the signal that we're receiving.
Right. Is exactly it. And then what we do with it.
Yeah.
And this, proving you wrong. Like one thing I find really interesting when people kind of move into spirituality, right? They
Hmm.
come and they do their Reiki or whatever, and they think it's going to solve all their problems.
Yes.
It just gives you different problems, right? For me, they became non-problems. They became invitations, and it's not
Hmm.
easy.
Yeah.
And like, and people don't understand you, and people are like, well, just take the pill and make it better, or like, the metaphorical pill and make it better, or or just go and do something else. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. What's happening here? If my theory is correct, right,
Hmm.
that the purpose of life is to know ourselves, truly to know ourselves, trust ourselves, be ourselves,
Yeah.
right, and to grow into that, like, I'm pretty sure I'm there with that, right?
Yeah.
If that's true, then actually discomfort is a thing that we are meant to be experiencing.
Hmm.
And when I when I came out of my psychology, which is always just trying to keep me safe, my
Yeah.
psychology is always just trying to kind of keep me on a level. It is rooted in my past,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. We do need to be safe, yes. But as again, I changed that priority of, okay, where's my soul leading me to? What's it asking of me right now?
Yeah.
That it's not every decision's uncomfortable. You know, sometimes it's like, go have a cacao. And I'm like, yummy.
Okay.
Let's do that, right? But it's this interpretation of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what does this mean?
Yeah.
My psychology is giving me information, my body's giving me information. This is good information, it is useful to know.
Mm-hmm.
And what if we invited in this higher power, this soul, this
Yeah.
energy? What if we invited that, and what extra information do we now have? How is that now helping me know myself, because that's my purpose,
Mm-hmm.
trust myself and be myself? And then how is this helping me grow?
Yeah.
And by the way, the second level of purpose is, how does me being myself help others, society, people around
Yes.
me, in my relationships?
And it's interesting you say that, because I was just about to ask you on the subject of purpose. See,
Mhm.
one of the things that you said a couple of times is like, our purpose is to know ourselves. Our purpose is to understand ourselves and have that deep knowledge of ourselves. But a lot of people out there, when they hear purpose, they're thinking like, my mission is to go out into the world and stop this, or cure pain, or overcome this, and help
Mhm.
others. And it's that externalization
Yeah,
of purpose. But
yeah.
actually, what we're saying is, it starts with us,
Mhm.
and then that gets translated outwards.
I think so. I think I think it's all three. I think there's three levels of purpose.
Mhm.
One, self. Who am I? How do I serve?
Yeah.
Two is, how does me being of service serve?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How does me give a positive impact to one person, my community, my family, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then the third one is, well, how does that have a greater effect on the world as a whole?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how I show up, how I treat the world, the earth, you know, fellow human animals, all of these things, right? And I think there are three layers. But if I come from like, well, how do I save the world? Then I lose myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm Atlas with the world on the back of my shoulders, like, it's so heavy and it's so hard, right?
Yeah.
If I come from, well, how do I save you? Then I lose myself. I'm
Mm-hmm.
now looking outside, asking the question, how do I save them? Like with where I was with the Akashic Reiki, right? I was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, all of these things are triggering me with the spiritual space and what I'm seeing wrong. If I'd have come at it from, how do I help them? How do I make that better? And then gone and Googled it, and it said, well, you need to bring in these business strategies or whatever it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I could have done that. I've got a business. I could have done that. I've got a
Yeah.
business degree. I've built businesses. I could have. It would have been in my skill set, but is it me?
Yeah.
Because when I come back to me, it's this life force energy. Like, what is fueling me? What is lighting me up? What is making me feel alive? Like,
Mm-hmm.
from a true self, not from my trauma or my wounds. It's very different. What I call in Akashic Reiki the overlays. It's like the lenses that we see the world above our soul or our true self, right?
Yeah.
And so the real thing is, who am I,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not just, oh, I'm a soul and I'm one with the universe. Like, not that. This, like, what lights me up? What am I
Mm-hmm.
interested in? Like, you can hear me in a conversation like this, I come alive.
Yeah.
Like, this shows me that this is me. This is true. This is
Mm-hmm.
real. Right? My fascination since I was a tiny kid with the mind body connection. I've had it forever.
Yeah.
Right? This is part of me. My need for comfort, the way that my brain works, my intellectual capacity, this is all part of me. It's nothing to be rejected, right?
Yeah.
And so when I really come into that, Akashic Reiki became the next inevitable step,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I had to come from there. And I've got a theory about how ideas come in, if you
Mm-hmm.
want to hear
I'd love
a
to hear
theory.
it. Absolutely.
So we have these three levels of purpose, right? But they're not disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm me, then I help, and then the world, right?
Yep.
But I think it kind of works the other way too, right? So say you're sitting there and you're like, oh, you know what? I really need help with this, right? or society is going, we need the new thing. We think about the invention of the motor car,
Yeah.
right? Two people in the same week invented the motor car who didn't know each other.
Yeah.
You think of the telephone. Two people
Mm-hmm.
invented the telephone in this, I think it was the same day or the same month, right? Completely interlinked. How the hell did things like this happen, right?
Mm.
I have a theory. I just goosebumped my
I
theory.
love
But
this.
a person or society, yeah, a group of people, put out these desires, right? They put out these things. They have this problem. We've got to a point evolutionary. Now I need this. And they send out these like thoughts or these pockets of energy. I see them as bubbles, right? And it flies through, right? The cosmos or the collective consciousness, if you like. And then there's somebody sitting there and they're like the perfect person, right? They have the perfect resources. They have just the right human design. They have the space in their life, maybe. They have the intellectual wisdom. They have all of the workings to be the best
Mm-hmm.
for this thing. And this thing comes and it just goes boop and it lands in. And you're in the shower and you're like, I have had an idea, right?
Shower, not a
And
bath,
it's
eureka moment.
exactly. Or maybe you're sitting lying in bed in Bulgaria and you're like, get out of bed. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's 3 a.m. Do I have to? Right? And it's a choice. We don't always have to. But as I come in, and if I know I'm the perfect person for this, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm perfectly made, right? The universe didn't make me by accident,
Mm-hmm.
right? The chances of me being here are pretty slim, right? That I take this and I bring me into it, knowing myself, my experience, my understanding, my growth edges, right?
Yeah.
And then I put it out into the world in truth, in Akashic Reiki, not Akashic Flame, right?
Nice.
That then it hits, goes back, is responded to the people. And how do they get it? They get it through inspiration. They open their Spotify or their Apple podcasts and they find this podcast called What If I Fail? And they think, I'm just going to sit there and listen to it,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's all by design and it comes from this space of trust.
Yeah.
If it's for me, I've got a choice.
Yeah.
I can take it and I will. And I know that if it's for me, my job is to bring myself into it with the knowing that it's come to me for a reason and it will help others and it will help the world. All
Yes.
three. I do it for me, for all of us together, and for everybody, right?
And I'd love to jump onto this from a business perspective.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we seen kind of business owners at that like probably early stage of their journey where they go, I can't say that because someone else is already
Right.
saying it. I can't, like, oh, people will think I'm copying them and I don't want to copy them, or like, oh my God, that person copied me, like that was my idea. And
Yeah.
actually what we're saying is, no, the synchronicity has come down because all of you were the person that needed to come to, but the way
Yeah.
that you're putting it out there, whether that
Mm-hmm.
is the people that you attract and you have different circles, whether that is the way that you word things, whether that is the particular energy or format that you put things out into the world, all are valid. None are necessarily, yes, there's an element of inspiration, but it's come to you for a reason. And if it's your truth to put out in your way, as long as you're not
Yeah.
literally copy pasting someone else's work, if it's your truth and it's just landed with you because you've seen it somewhere, that is, you should also put that out.
Right. The thing is, right, is this comes back to truly knowing yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're like me, you will get inspired 25 times a day and you're like, I
Yeah.
could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes back into I could do this.
Yeah.
I could have, when I got triggered, gone down. I was on a business retreat. I could have gone and got all the business strategy and gone, right, this is how I change the industry.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine. But it isn't truly me. How do I know? Because it isn't me. It isn't my words. It isn't my voice. It isn't my experience. It isn't my, like, there's like a cadence to it, you know, where
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, that feels like me.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean there's no doubt. I think doubt is
not
there.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes even the more true it is, the more doubt you can feel in some ways. But it comes back to me into being really grounded
Mm-hmm.
in yourself. Like this, it's a knowing, it's a trust, it's a faith.
Yeah.
This one is for me. And do you have to take every inspired idea? No.
Mm-hmm.
If I took every inspired idea, in fact, I'm releasing the success codes at the moment, right? I wrote that a year ago, but it wasn't ready to come out yet. And do you know how I got to the point suddenly it came out of my archives? I had a launch space. I was going to launch Soul Space, and I was feeling into it, and I was like, what will make me feel that level of fear and excitement
Mm.
that I know is my next growth? That was the question I asked myself, and it just popped up. Success codes just came up. I was like, oh, that feels risky. Let's do it, right? And that was inspired through the work I was doing with one of my mentors, Robert Holden, and the psychotherapeutic work and Akashic Reiki. It was inspired through all of this. And I will credit all of that through the work that I'm doing in there. But I couldn't have taken what I was doing in my success intelligence mastermind and then just kind of launched it from there, even though the inspiration was there. I wrote it all down, I got it all out, I started to play with the ideas. But it was then that trigger moment. So it comes back into how well do I know myself?
Yeah.
There is an element of when the market is ready, when you have space in the diary. Like that's all part of it. The strategy is a really important part, but the strategy for me has to sit in the, I don't know, they have to be linked together. They can't be, well, that's the bigger, better business decision, and I'm losing myself. Like
Mm-hmm.
that for me is a setup for failure.
Yeah. And I think that question of like, do I lose myself?
Mhm.
Am I doing this because someone's told me it's a really good idea? Like there's lots of business coaches out there. I mean, I remember working with a client who came to me and they were like, this is what I do. I'm really struggling to pick up clients. And I was like, hey, well, let's dig into why you do that. Oh, well, someone told me to. It's like, right, okay, just talk me through that story. And effectively, this person had been an estate agent and then had decided to start a business and had gone to a business coach and had said to the person said, well, what did you do before? And he said, oh, well, I was an estate agent. And he went, great, so you can be a sales coach for estate agents. Perfectly logical. And this guy was like,
Very logical.
okay, cool, yeah, that tracks.
Hmm.
Sales
Hmm.
coaching, like people love that sort of thing. And I was like, okay, cool. So like when you were an estate agent, how many houses did you sell? One. Just one. And I
In
was
three
like,
years.
okay, so like why do we think that maybe
Mhm.
other estate agents that have sold 100 houses, what might they be able to learn from you about sales that they don't already know? Oh, I don't really know. Okay, so can we be a sales coach for people you can be a coach for people that are much further ahead of you. I truly believe that.
Yeah.
But if you've not got the core skill or the core experience, like he was not the person, the universe didn't land that. That was just a business coach being like, this is a really easy I help
Yeah.
statement.
Yeah.
There's a simple, there you go, just run with that. We changed what he did. We worked out what actually he really was passionate about. We worked out
Yeah.
what he really loved to do, the conversations that he got lost in, the ones that made him go, oh, sorry, I've lost track of time. I just went deep down that
Yes.
rabbit hole.
Right.
And I was like, well, there's the passion. So how do we translate that into an offer as opposed to, oh, well, you were this and I'll be this?
It's exactly that. I used to sell cars.
Yeah.
That was my job.
Yeah.
I worked in the motor industry for like more than 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is even back then, right, my passion was my career progression, and it was there and mapped out for me was I want to get into the training. Why? So I can help people be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
That was there.
Yeah.
I was on every I was such a geek even then. my team loved me because whenever there was a training course that no one ever wanted to go on because then
Mhm.
you're off the sales floor, I was like, I'll go. I had the best, and it was all like NLP based and sales coaching,
Mm.
like all of, and psychology and about the cars, and I was passionate about it, and it was amazing. So there was a passion there, but the passion wasn't the car,
Yeah.
although I was at Mercedes Benz, I did love the cars. The passion wasn't there. The passion was in this growth, and so that was still true. This was the thread, but also the job was half killing me,
Mm.
right? It was I there was one day I drove to work and I was like, what if my brakes fail? I don't have to go to work today, right? Like, and that's not healthy,
Yeah.
by any means. And but again, it's the agitation, the wake up call, and then
Hmm.
Reiki found me, and then I left, and then I started this. But the logic would say go and do sales coaching,
Yeah.
but it doesn't, and I could have, and you
Hmm.
know, I'd have been a very good sales
Yeah, I
coach.
bet you would.
But it's not the thing when you run your own business is you need more, right?
Hmm.
You can't just, when you go and do a job, you're there, people pay you, there's expectations, right? When you're your own business owner, you have to run your own diary, you have
Hmm.
to motivate yourself, you have to create your own KPIs, you have to like everything's you, and you might have a team supporting you, but even you're directing them.
Yeah.
So you need this extra, you need something, you need this fuel. And when that fuel can really be this infinite source, right, of abundance, which we can all tap into. You don't have to be spiritual, right, to tap into it. It helps. But when you can tap into that and you get that all in alignment, right? So my soul is fueling my choices, which, and it's fueling my thoughts, it's fueling my actions, right? And all of this stuff, and we get that all in coherence together, then we have this, we develop our own resilience, not through willpower, not through, well, I need to, and I'm going to smash through this, and I'm going to like keep on going. We have this well that when we are down and out, right, when we feel like the world is unraveling through us, when nobody's listening, we feel like we're screaming into the void, when we ask us questions like, what if I fail?
Yeah.
Right, we land back into not the instability of our mind, which most of us are doing.
Hmm.
We land back into this well of everything, faith, everything is working out for me all of the time,
Yeah.
and all I need to do is take one step now in the direction of my soul, my mission, my passion, my growth.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's simple.
Yeah.
And it's why, for me, I've developed for the last 20 years into creating that.
Hmm.
It doesn't just happen one morning. It's a practice.
Yeah.
It's a reminder. It's being around people where we can have these conversations and understand them. I still invest heavily in mentorship so that I can still be supported in that space.
Yeah.
But all of that, it lands back into, what is my soul asking for me today?
Hmm.
How is this helping fuel my thoughts, through fuel my emotions, through fuel my actions, and fuel my choices?
Yeah.
How is that then helping? And it keeps on going around.
I love it. Something that you said really hit me. So you were talking about, what if my brakes fail? And I remember being in a job that I loved aspects of it, like the passion was there. And I remember walking to work one day and I was so exhausted. I was working really long days. As much as it was exciting work, it was overwhelmingly exciting. It was like high octane work. And I remember thinking, I wonder how hard I would need to be hit by a lorry in order to be in hospital and have a break, but not be irreparably damaged for the rest of my life.
Right?
And I remember thinking, like, that is a really strange thought to have. Like, oh, why is that come up into my head? Like, why am I thinking about how badly I need to be injured to be allowed to take a break? And I went to the doctor and I said this to him. I had a very good relationship with my doctor at the time. He went, I'm signing you off with stress. Like, off we go, we're not. And actually, I never went back to that job. I left that
Right.
job. But it's interesting for me because the parallels in business, like in general, the businesses we start, they are our passion. Like we have chosen something we are passionate about to build our business around. And like you say, we're the only people that the business can rely upon. But the correlation, I mean, some people might think, I wonder what, how sick would I need to be allowed to take a break? But the thing that comes up for me with my clients most often is like, I just want to burn it all down. I hate it.
Yeah.
I've built
Yeah.
something that feels now restrictive to me. It feels, and it just needs burning down. I'm going to go Phoenix style and rise from the ashes. And I love this idea that actually that's a signal.
Yeah, it is.
That's a signal, not that it needs to all be burnt down or that it's kind of irreparable and it can't ever be fixed, but that is a signal that at some point you've lost yourself within that connection, and the business has become about those outer two layers, hasn't it? It's become about how do I serve and how does that fix the world, and it's lost that inner part. And actually that Phoenix moment isn't about taking immediate action. Like you said, it took you 3 years to bring Akashic Reiki into the world after the moment of inspiration. It's almost like, okay, pause. How can I come back to myself?
Yeah.
And how can I then allow that to filter through what I've already built without having to start again?
Yeah. It's a consistent practice, because actually what I see happen with business owners particularly is we have the inspiration, we go, we build, then something happens. Something always happens, or we gain a strategy, or we feel like we need to do it this way, and it comes from that level of instability, right? So my fear has driven me into, oh my god, now I need to make £10,000, what do I do? And so I add it on there. Oh, that worked, and so I add it on, and I'm building on this like deck of cards, right? The stack of cards, which is gonna want to come down. Like, that's the bit that wants to fall. And so there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you don't have to do everything like, oh well, what did the cards say, and then blah blah blah, right? You can do stuff, go have fun, like make that be part of it, like do a quick win, it's fine, but don't build the whole business on it, don't build your whole life on it. Get really good at understanding, am I taking this action out of fear? Right? And if you are, it's fine. Fear is not a problem. Am I taking this action out of fear? Am I taking this action out of my wounding? Am I taking this action out of fear of not belonging, etc.? Out of comfort? Okay, just no. Or am I taking this action out of growth? Yeah, or out of true inspiration? Use that as information, because it could just be, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to burn that bit down because it's unsustainable.
Yeah.
And the clues often are this feeling of heaviness, this feeling of overwhelm, that experience that you had about the lorry. I would go so far to say as it was your soul speaking to you. We think our soul's like, right? But our soul is fierce. If you ever had a dark night of the soul, your soul it has a fierce quality to it, because it wants you to keep on moving. So as we can understand that okay, there's something going on here. What's the question I'm asking? Not how do I stop this feeling, which you can do many things. You can regulate, you can all of that. There's a place for all of that. But really, what's the signal here? Because there is always growth and expansion. I'm expanding. That feeling your clients have, I'm expanding and something is trapping me. Well, that's the architecture of your own misery that is holding you back, right? It's good information. And so we bring the healing, we bring the understanding, we bring the openness, we bring the curiosity, we bring the adventure, we bring all of that, not to try and get rid of it, but to use it as fuel for growth.
Yes.
And then we keep on going. Is it easy? No.
Well, and
fun most of the time.
The growth edge is the uncomfortable edge.
Right.
It's not comfortable. It's not change, even for people. And I talk about, I love change. I move house every 2 years, right? We move house, we move location. Like, I've never seen the house that I'm moving to in 15 days. Like, I've not seen it in real life. Yeah, I've just seen photos of it. I'm going to turn up on the day and I'm like, this is my house now. Cool, okay. Like, we only found out yesterday that it has got a garden shed. Like, that's how little we knew about our house. And so adventure is something, change is something that I really, really love. And also, because all of us have that both, I hate, I won't let my husband put that with there's very specific spots that the cutlery has to go to in the dishwasher. And if he
Right.
puts it in the wrong order, I'm like, no, that's wrong. Absolutely not.
Get
Let's
out of
not
there, Alex.
let's not be changing that. Like no, there is a pattern that we have to follow. Like this is how we
Yeah.
do this. Because change for change's sake is pointless for one, but change is uncomfortable.
Right.
And if you've got changes going on in your life, you kind of, what you're saying about like, how can I get out of this feeling? I remember, and it was at the Santorini retreat, after the first day, and the first day that we'd had, and Chiara, who ran it, is incredible at the way that she runs these retreat spaces. And the first day there was so much emotion and high energy in the room in a very, just confronting way, I
Yeah.
would say. And I found myself, about halfway through the day, I found myself feeling like I was going to get a migraine. And I get migraines a lot. They throw me out for 3 days. It was a 3-day retreat. And so my immediate fear was, if I get a migraine right now, I miss the whole thing. I
Yeah.
miss this whole thing. So I said to her, I was like,
Yeah.
I just have to go back to the accommodation and pick up my painkillers because I need to stop this in its tracks. Like, I can't let this migraine land. And she said to me, it was a really beautiful moment, because it could have been a moment where I'm like, oh, fuck off, you don't understand. But actually, what she said to me was, are you getting a migraine that is physiological, or are you trying to numb the emotion that is trying
Yeah.
to come through you right now? Are you trying to get away from this feeling that is actually needs to happen, and you need to release it and you need to let it out? Are you just trying to dampen that and numb it because you're scared? And I was like, yes. And also, I'm going to take the painkillers, like both. But it was
Yeah.
a really interesting moment for me, because and I did take the painkillers and I didn't get the migraine, and I did last the rest of it, and I got a lot out of it. But ever since then, the amount of times I've allowed the energy to just go through my body rather than trying to tighten it in, and the migraines don't happen, because that discomfort, sometimes we can't back away from it. Sometimes we have to go all the way through.
We do. One of the things that is very important for me in Akashic Reiki is everything's an invitation. And so we get really good at noticing these signals: physical, mental, emotional.
Yeah.
And you have this isn't, why is my hand hurting? Because it's over the flame. I'm just going to sit here and find my 4 past lives before I take my hand off the flame, right?
Yeah.
It's, like, yes, we have to do what we have to do, but it's really learning how to sit with it, where it comes from, that it has a message for you, that we're perfectly made, right?
Yeah.
And understanding that there's always something. There's always something. And I think, especially as a business owner, especially for me as a healer or therapist, as a parent, like, I think in any area of your life, right? The more that we can build that resilience, not push through it, but build that emotional resilience, build that capacity to, what am I available to hold, the more success we experience in our lives.
Yes. Capacity, energetically, emotionally, intellectually, physically, like, and I think this is where it has to be holistic, doesn't it? In the previous episode, I spoke to Natalie and Catherine around, you have to have a strong, resilient body, right? And this is something you and I have both been on our kind of a bit of a physical journey of, like, strengthening ourselves and making sure that our bodies are resilient. You have to have that intellectual capacity where you can't, for me, that when I stop reading, when I stop learning, everything narrows back down, and I find it hard, and I start getting more kind of trapped. And so actually for me, it's a bit of a release of, like, okay, I'm learning something every day, I'm reading, I'm expanding myself, that spiritual capacity for how much energy can we hold flowing through our body. There's so many areas in which we have to allow our capacity to grow in all, like, together. We can't just focus on one.
Exactly. And like I think for me, part of my mission is we're so focused on IQ. There's
Hmm.
a lot around like which intelligence, mental intelligence. There's a lot of information now about emotional intelligence,
Hmm.
EQ, and then we have like our physical intelligence. And for me, it's really understanding that our spiritual intelligence kind of brings all of that as a capacity. Like it's like the holding space for me.
Yeah.
I see it missing in the business space a lot.
Hmm.
I see it coming in more
Yes.
and more. And this isn't like omming on, the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
It's spiritual intelligence. It's
Hmm.
just it's understanding the greater impact and this kind of higher purpose and this higher intelligence, and that is available to us all, regardless of your, denomination or anything.
Hmm.
It is available. And I think when we can bring that in, if you just go spiritual thing, then and you ignore the body. I've been there.
Hmm.
I've never really ignored my mind, but I've ignored my body. I've ignored my emotional capacity.
Yeah.
When we bring it all together under that umbrella or in that holding, well, then we become the rounded human beings. Then we can have the impact that we know we want. Then we live a life that just has that meaning and that purpose, and that, oh, okay, this is why I'm getting up in the morning.
Hmm.
This is why I'm doing hard things. This is why these things are happening to me. And we become this whole human. And for me, that changed everything.
Yeah. Incredible. I mean, what an incredible place to kind of sum up the whole conversation, like almost becoming a I am the whole Venn diagram of intersections and sections and all of the above.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. And I think we could probably talk for about another million years about
Yeah.
this. We know that we
And
can
part
because we
two.
do on a regular
I'll
basis.
see you in the group chat.
Yeah. But what an incredible kind of place to kind of leave it. If people want to interact with you, obviously you've got your own podcast, the Mystic and
I
Training
do.
podcast, which
Hmm.
I listen to every single Friday when it comes out, when I'm walking the dog. Where else can people connect with you, learn from you, all of the above?
So you'll find me across the social media channels, at the Melissa Amos, YouTube, Facebook, and my two main ones. The Mystic and Training podcast is on all of the platforms. If you want to learn more about Akashic Reiki, I have a beautiful home for that at akashicreiki.org. Or reach out to me. I'm always happy to continue these conversations.
Amazing. I will pop all the links below the
Thank you.
various places that this is going to be posted. But thank you so much. This podcast is a window into the conversations I have every week with the leaders I work with. If you want to be inside that conversation, not just observing it, you will find the Actual Results Club and my one-to-one work linked below.